pick up Shell for lunch. So I picked him up, and we were sitting there eating lunch, and I pulled these pictures out of these two steers with Neale painted on the side. I thought he was gonna throw up. He said some things, he said, Neale, how are we gonna get that off? And I said, I hope you don't. He's a good practical joker.
He's still got a couple of those, I don't know what those ones are called with the big horns on them.
Yeah,
There's still a couple of them roaming around over there right now.
Not the Watusis.
The Watusis, yes.
Yeah, those Watusis over there, they can hardly bring their head up. Those horns are probably they're wider than the Longhorns, and when they're over there, but they're still over at his place. And last time I was over there, and but they just walk around with their heads down, and he was always proud of those as well. I think he brought those over. He told me a story. He brought them over on an airplane from Africa.
They came over on an airplane. A friend of his at Lufthansa, I think, brought it for him.
Okay.
He didn't pay for it, I know.
That's a guarantee, huh?
Yeah, how did the place look when you went by it in Pittsburgh? The ranch close by the road.
You can only see the land. You can't really see the house, but I mean, looks like cows have been eating the grass to me. I mean, that's probably the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
I didn't see anything look bad
No
about
activity or anything. It doesn't look like the gate's been open. You can tell the gate's been closed for a while.
It looked cleaned up, so it didn't. I mean, well, the last time I was by there, it didn't look good at all.
Probably pretty consistent with what I saw.
Bad.
Yeah, last time I was.
Well, I don't think Mike is the guy who's kind of responsible for it physically. And what is Augustine is the guy that's supposed to be taking care of it and feeding those cows. I hope he's doing it.
And I think they just live just down the way.
Yeah, it's right next to the property.
Right next door. So
Yeah.
I think maybe we'll follow up. We can check on that.
Do you know his son do you still have contact? Is Mike the one, his son Mike the one that's over this?
I think it's actually the three kids, but Mike is the one taking care of it. Pat is a banker and not involved. I mean, he just doesn't care to get involved with things like this. He doesn't. Mike yes. And the daughter Sharon, I talk to Sharon pretty much every other day. She was pretty close to her dad.
And Pat's in Dallas.
Correct.
Yeah.
Legacy Banks.
Yeah. Yeah.
And,
So he's got a place out on Cypress Springs also.
Yeah.
On the lake.
Yeah. Yeah, the last time I went by it, I drove up to see Augustine. He wasn't there. The gate was open. Not Shelby's gate, but Augustine.
But his, right. Yeah. Every time I've been by, Shelby's gate's always closed. He's got the automatic, and it seems to always be consistently closed. So that's
He was so
good
proud
thing.
of that entryway, but he didn't get to use it many times.
You know, if you try to back down that entryway, if you go off the side, your truck will roll 2 or 3 times before it comes to a stop. You know how steep it is on the north side of that entryway?
Yeah.
And you know that how?
I know that because
that's why John wasn't part of the driving crew.
I had access the back way after that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, one of the most exciting trips I can remember with Shelby, and it was one of his last trips. We got in that white Dodge pickup, and we went riding, and he would see a beer can or something on that side of the road. We're going that way, and he just, and I'm looking to see who's going to hit us, you know. But he was telling a story. He's picking up beer bottles, trash, and it really irritated him to see people leave stuff on the highway, you know. Which he may be the last guy in the world you'd ever think that's the case.
Yeah.
He loved East Texas, man.
He used to, speaking of white and vehicles, he used to like tell us the story about the Jeep Cherokee that he drove around. If you ever had an opportunity to ride that white Jeep Cherokee that he had, and, you know, people around Pittsburgh didn't know any different. You know, they just accepted him as Carroll Shelby. But I always saw he had the logo as a receiver hitch in the back of that Jeep Cherokee, and I was telling me that was his favorite. Lee Iacocca, he said he bought that Jeep Cherokee from Lee Iacocca for $1, and so.
Oh, yeah.
Figure that's the story.
Nothing he had down there for a while you could put a license on. And one morning he asked me to come down, and he asked me to bring some Owen sausage from a store up in Dallas, which I did. And when I drove up, he was cooking breakfast. This was the next morning, Saturday, I think. And Lee Iacocca was coming down. But Shelby had 2 of those little ponies in the kitchen with tennis shoes on.
Oh my!
And I looked at that, and he was cooking he did that just to shake up Lee Iacocca. Here are these little ponies just standing there with tennis shoes on.
Can you imagine Carroll trying to put those shoes
No,
on?
I'm thinking maybe somebody else put them on for him.
I don't know who they are. And then we used to come down, and he would ask me to bring some Shiner beer. And he'd go down to the lake, and he had this radio-controlled boat. It cost a model boat, cost a lot of money. And what he was doing, he was chasing the geese off, but he had swans that he was about to drive crazy that were on that lake. He'd chase them with his radio-controlled boat. They're like a kid, man. Worse than a kid.
Oh man, he was definitely a storyteller. That's one of the. I'm so enjoying this, and I apologize for being late. But thanks to, you know, just to be reminded, that's one of the great wonders of and great experiences that I think many of us have shared. And so thankful for that.
I'll share one I shared with Bob this morning. We were driving up, and he was asking about. He used to fly into Dallas, and he'd call me, and I planned to pick him up. But one morning, I was going by to pick him up at DFW, and we were in my boss's Cadillac. It was an Eldorado, so we pulled. He knew he had met Shelby, and we pulled up there and picked up Shelby and at the front, and we were driving off, and we had no more driven off, and Shelby raised up and let one fly. It was terrible.
I've heard this story.
I
heard it from a different angle.
Exactly, but it's a different angle.
I pulled over and I said, "Dang it, Shelby!" And he said, "What's the matter? That won't spring the doors on a Cadillac, will it?"
Yeah.
Nobody. You tell that to some people that didn't know him, they'd say, "Come on, I'm worse than that."
I heard that story. I don't remember hearing. I heard it a little bit differently, but I heard the same. I heard the story.
Oh, it's true, man.
Well, I think Cheryl might have been accusing you. Is where I was going with that.
That's right.
He borrowed the car from one of his sons one time. I don't know what I told anybody this, but we used it because a friend of mine had a boat on the Lake of the Pines. I guess that's still a profitable, beautiful place. We used to have a place there. Anyway, we ate and we're getting ready to go back, and we had left the car down on the ramp where you load the boats, and it was maybe 3 or 4 feet from the water, and it wouldn't start. He borrowed the car from Pat, his son. It was a black Suburban. It wouldn't start, and finally he looked at the gas, and it was out of gas. So he called me, he said, come on, Neale, I said, I want you to help me. I said, what are you gonna do? And he said, we're gonna roll this thing in the lake. And I said, no, I ain't gonna do that. But he did. And I ran down there and stopped it, but it was already nose wet.
Really?
And that's where we left it. I never heard anybody, Pat or anybody else, say anything about it. He was gonna sink that dude in as deep of water as he could find. That's Shelby.
Yep.
Anyway. Anyway,
My goodness.
what do you think?
I'm driving for you. You wanna go by and see Shelby's place? We got time?
Yeah, I guess. We don't have to stop, do we?
No, sir.